Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and figured I'd do, another little different video where I kind of just talk to you all, because I enjoy doing this sometimes. Now, this is going to be the second type of video I've done like this recently, mainly stemmed from something that I had initially talked about and said on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me talk about this a little bit, and if you don't follow me on there, I'd suggest that you do. But either way, I was talking about the possibility of legitimate reproductions of games. Now, let's get a few things straight here. First of all, we're going to take this game, which this is a completely legitimate copy of this. This is Conker's Bad Fur Day on the Nintendo 64. And typically, when people talk about reproductions or repros, I might use those terms interchangeably. So if you hear me say repro, you hopefully know what I'm talking about. But that is just an unauthorized duplicate, otherwise known as a bootleg of one of these games right here. Typically, you don't see this term used with CD-based games or DVD-based games because those would just be copies, and while as a reproduction is essentially a copy at that point, I think it probably has to do more with something along the lines of when you think of a CD being copied, you think of it being copied, burned, you think of it on a CDR of some kind. Many times these CD and DVD based game consoles are also going to require some type of physical modification or something else that is just an extra step, either planted into the system or something that the end user has to do in order to get these copied games running. While as the idea of a reproduction is you cannot easily make a copy of this on your computer here. You cannot easily produce a copy of this just using standard equipment. There are possibilities and ways of doing it now, but I digress. The point is on here, if you're going to make a copy of a physical cartridge, and by that I mean you're going to take this, rip the data off of it, and place it onto another cartridge and have it look somewhat nice, such as this, you are going to have to go through the process of getting it pressed and, getting it manufactured and all that. So I guess that's the difference where you see reproduction used for cartridge-based games, but for a CD-based game, it's just going to be a copy. Sometimes they do get a little bit fancy. There are parts of the world, for example, in the Middle East, where PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, even though they are duplicates, bootlegs, copies, whatever you want to call them, a lot of times they are pressed in factories. Even though they are pressed in factories, though, they're not going to work on non-modified hardware. You still have to have modified hardware or a way of booting up a burn disk or an import disk of some kind in order to get it to work. Now, I do also want to lead into this by saying that I'm not by any means, poking major fun at these companies or trying to slander them or anything else. Both the companies I'm going to be talking about here, I actually do like them. I like their products and all that. Many people might not, but I guess this is just kind of the topic at hand, and this is just something that I simply disagree with. So, what prompted this? First of all, taking a look at limited run games, this is the game that I had seen go up for $44.99 US. You can buy Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for the Nintendo 64. This is limited to 3,000 copies worldwide, so make sure you get your hands on this. And they do say this is the 6th release. Sixth? Okay. This is supposed to be a part of their retro LucasArts mint on sealed card lineup. So for anyone who doesn't know, limited run games, their whole thing is they like to take games that are only available digitally and they will like to do a small print run of them physically. Partially, for collectability, but also, of course, to preserve these games physically somehow. So sometimes they'll have the DLC and extra updates baked into them and such, and it's cool what they do. Some people absolutely hate them. I like them, and I buy many, many games from them because I do support what they do. Now, they used to only do print runs in limited numbers, such as this, where this is 3,000 copies of this game has been pressed. However, in recent times, what they've also done is they've done a pre-order window because they had so many complaints about that, I'm sure. So now it depends on the game. It's not all of them, but sometimes what they will do is they will say, you can pre-order this game as many copies as you want for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And once that's done, we're going to take the 15,000 orders we got and press 15,000 copies and then send them out to everyone. Or you might get games such as this where they're only limited to 2, 3, 4,000 runs. The point is here, this is a big deal they signed with LucasArts where they are able to take several Star Wars games and press them onto physical discs and physical cartridges. There's some releases coming out on the PS4, but they also have some, I believe, on the Game Boy, and of course here the N64. But even though I do think this is cool to a degree, here's the problem. To me, this is nothing more than a official reproduction. Now, many of the times when you're talking about a cartridge-based reproduction, you're talking about some company in China that is taking games that already exist, they're just taking the ROMs, they're pressing them onto boards, they're putting them into, little cartridge cases like this, and they are sending them out. So it's just a bootleg pressing facility. That's pretty much what it is, and that's what's happening. This is the most official that you can get for a brand new N64 release at this point. This has been given the green light by the powers that be, at least, it has to be if it's being sold so openly like this. It's limited run games. They have this deal going on with LucasArts, and I'm sure they, at minimum, have Nintendo's blessing, because I know Nintendo in current day 2019 is not pressing Nintendo 64 cartridges. So you best bet that it is a third party that is going to actually be manufacturing and pressing these cartridges. Does this mean that the quality is going to be better of these reproduction cartridges? Well, we can only hope. I don't have the cartridge in hand, so I can't test that firsthand. However, the cool thing about this is, if you are worried about picking up a used copy or even a current day bootleg or reproduction of this and the money not going to the original developers, or at least some type of powers that be, I guess this really wouldn't be the original developers, but point is, if you want to buy a new copy of this and you want to support some kind of official entity directly, this is the best way that you could do it. And that's about where all the good stuff ends for me here. Because see, let's go back to the page and take a further look at this. First of all, that price is no joke. That is $44.99, and on top of that, you do have to pay for shipping. So rest in peace to anybody who is trying to get this internationally, because that shipping is just going to get even more expensive. On top of that, I really don't like this packaging either. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to really tap into that nostalgia market and such of the original Star Wars toys, or I guess, the ones that were coming out around Episode 1, I can say that for sure. The problem here is that even though this is a completely functional cartridge, to me this seems to be gunning a lot more after a collector crowd, because you really don't even have, the nice N64 type box where you can rip off the shrink wrap and then you can take out everything and mess with the contents as is and put them back in place. As opposed to that, you're dealing more with something such as this, where I know this is a completely different medium, but this is just an amiibo here. You have it in not a blister package, but plastic with cardboard, and yeah, if you want to and you want to be careful, I guess you could take, the amiibo out of here and then put it back in and such and display it, but you do have to be careful with that, and the point is, you either... Look, this is just wasteful packaging, alright? I'm not really a fan of it for a game. And again, harping on the price here, just keep in mind that this is not the original copy, this is a reproduction. Now you might be saying, this is brand new, this is going to be a way to support directly, and I understand that, you do get your brand new cartridge, but in a way, because as I said, this is not going to be officially pressed by Nintendo, you're not going to be getting a truly original build of the cartridge itself. So let's go ahead and look at eBay, and as you can see here, I did just Star Wars Episode 1 Racer N64, buy it now. I can find one for about $10, just under $10, again just under $10 shipped, just under $8 shipped. Even if we go a little bit further, check this out, this is probably one of the best deals. This right here, it's used, mind you, but this is complete in box for $16, just under $16. This would be the exact one I would get if I was gunning after this game. Plus, you get a lot more. In my opinion, I do like this packaging more. You get an actual instruction booklet, and of course, you get the original cartridge, the true original cartridge. I would be interested in picking this up, however, going through my N64 collection, I actually found it right here, so I don't have to pay anything else. In fact, this must have been a really cheap game that didn't have much of an effect on me when buying it, because I don't even remember buying this. It just showed up in my collection when I was looking. So I guess the only other audience that they would be trying to gun after here would be Star Wars collectors, which at that point, I don't think a Star Wars collector would be interested in this either, because again, this isn't even the original game that released. If I was going hard and really collecting Star Wars stuff, this really wouldn't be showing up on my radar. I mean, I guess it's some cool fan service, and even then, if I'm kind of bashing the fan service of it, I don't know if that's a slap in the face or what. Now, I have absolutely no doubts or worries that this is going to sell out and all 3,000 of these are going to be sold with no issue, but it is selling a lot slower than expected on here. So I don't even think the collectors are really caring about this. I'll put it like this, I do record my videos early and then, I'll put them out later, just because that's how I produce my content most of the time. So by the time you see this video, this will probably be sold out. But right now, this was put up for sale on October 18th, and there are still copies available right now. If I wanted to, I could buy one while getting this video. Most of the time, limited runs releases like for Switch and PS4 and such are going to sell out within minutes. Now also with this specific release, I have to poke fun at it a little bit because shout out to Deedletech from Twitter who ended up tweeting this to me when I had talked about it. He said, "While I understand they are mimicking toy packaging for the N64 cart, can't help it feels a bit misleading as Darth Maul is not a playable character in N64 Star Wars Racer. He is in the sequel though that came out for PlayStation." So look, it's been a while since I've played it, but if that's truly the case, then at this point you have a Star Wars essentially official, unofficial game that's being re-released and repressed, and it's not even accurate. I'm at a loss for words at that point, man. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the morality of these reproductions. Not so much the legality here. I'm gonna leave that to the side, but I'm talking about the morality of it. First of all, I guess the only good feels you might come from buying this really inflated release, in my opinion, is that I guess if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you have to get everything that is Star Wars, including even like bootleg Star Wars shirts or something. This can satisfy that itch. That's, I guess, $45 at minimum that you're going to be able to spend there that can justify this purchase. The other thing is, again, if you're concerned with buying a used copy or buying a brand new, secondhand market copy of this game and the money not going to any of the official entities, you don't really have to worry about it as much when you're doing it with this route here. But for me, picking up a reproduction like this, look, in my opinion, it's not worth it at all. Again, I showed you all some of these games on eBay here. Looking at this again, you're paying, about $16 for an acceptable copy of this, complete in box, or if you only want the cartridge, you can find it for about $10, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but you're really not going to pay all too much for it. So even from an aspect of saying, hey, I'm going to get a reproduction copy because it's cheaper than an original, that's not the case here at all. Now, some people who have watched the channel for a while or who might do a search might see that I have actually done a video showing a N64 reproduction cartridge, and this is the only reproduction or copied cartridge I have in my collection, which is Ocarina of Time Master Quest. And I did justify it in here, and I'll talk about it here again. I would show it, but right now, look, like all my cartridge games are kind of just in a box because I'm redoing some stuff downstairs, so I have to dig up everything and find it again. But mind you, the reason why I ended up picking this up is because, one, I already have Master Quest. I got that, Legend of Zelda GameCube bonus disc that you could get when you pre-order Wind Waker, which has it on there, and you could never buy Master Quest on a cartridge legitimately. So I guess that's kind of the niche it goes into. If I want to buy a ROM hack, or if I want to buy something that is available just to have it on my shelf, but was never officially available, at that point I personally don't see much of an issue there. But again, take something like this, Conker's Bad Fur Day, a game where there are many reproduction cartridges out there, because this is an expensive game. I don't know what the exact price is on this right now, because I haven't really bothered looking it up. I bought this to actually play it and keep it in my collection. But some people might gladly pay $20 to pick up a reproduction of this because, they want it in their collection, they want something physical and tangible, and they don't want to pay, I don't know, let's say $100 for a cartridge-only version of this, like a legitimate cartridge. Now, I'm really not trying to advocate for this, alright? The reason being is that even though I do show how to modify systems, I do believe in, cracking open a system to its potential limits and everything and fully maximizing it, as well as having the convenience of storing and backing up your games onto internal drives, external drives, and just having a backup available, what have you there. It's really convenient doing that. But point is, even though I believe in doing all that, I do know that there are people who are going to go out, get ROM sets and all that stuff and do whatever they can. But point is, I know there's going to be people who aren't going to care and they're just going to download everything. I myself, I do enjoy paying for my games because I like to have that physical collection. But when I do want the convenience of everything, get yourself a flash cart, man. Save yourself some money, spend a little bit more, get a flash cart, get an SD card or micro SD card, whatever it uses, and then you just take your games, you put them on here, you pop it in the flash cart, you put it on your original system, and from there you can play all of your games that are digitally available on your original system. And on top of that, if you get yourself a good flash cart, and even depending on some systems like the N64, pretty much any flash cart that would be available, you'll actually have better compatibility and probably a better experience running everything off of flash cart as opposed to buying one single cartridge for that game that's not official. I guess this would be a good time to use this too. If you're interested in flashcards at all, this is not sponsored by them, but I'm just being transparent. I am going to leave an affiliate link down below in the description to Stone Age Gamer. They have some fantastic products, so if you're interested in getting a flashcard or looking at what's available, I suggest checking out that link down below. Now, this is not the only one. As I said, here's another one that I wanted to bring up. Several people had pointed this out to me, but this is from I Am 8-Bit, and this has been sold out for a hot minute, but this was a limited edition Street Fighter 2 30th Anniversary Edition Super Nintendo reproduction. As you can see, there were 5,500 that were pressed. It is a brand new Super Nintendo cartridge. It has a nice looking box, I guess you can see right here, a cool looking red cartridge, and a few other things. I guess this is everything that it has. Yeah, there we go. Actually, that does look pretty cool, admittedly. Now, this right here is also officially sanctioned by Capcom, so you don't have to worry about getting it from a shady company where none of the money is going to go to Capcom if you still want to support them and get yourself a new cartridge. Now, I Am 8-Bit is quite similar to Limited Run Games in this regard. They don't just do this, though. I guess Limited Run Games doesn't just do games, so the point is, I Am 8-Bit, they also do soundtracks, they do art, and then they do other limited game pressings for Switch, PS4, probably a few others, but those are the only ones that I have purchased. Now, the big thing here is that even though this is official from Capcom or sanctioned by them, it's a 30th anniversary limited edition, this thing was selling for $100, brand new. That's a lot. Especially when you do the exact same search on eBay here for Street Fighter 2 Super Nintendo, and check this out, $10 free shipping. About $11, about $12, $10, $8 with $3 shipping. Even, let's see, we could get a, I guess, enhanced copy of this game, Super Street Fighter 2, with the box and everything. Look, that's actually pretty nice. That has everything with it. Well, aside from the little coffee stains here, or whatever the hell that is. But this is $38 for Super Street Fighter 2 Complete. And this is the original fully licensed version and everything, pressed by Nintendo and all that good stuff, and this right here is $38. The funny thing was, I was still sitting here trying to rack my brain over who might be getting these, and I thought, oh, resellers would be getting them. That would make sense. Well, I can even say on here, I'm really thinking that resellers failed on this, because I end up finding this by it now. $80.50 free shipping for the exact same one that we looked at. This is the I Am 8-Bit re-release with the red cartridge, brand new and everything, for $20 less than what I Am 8-Bit was selling it for. So rip to that reseller who probably paid $100 for this and was expecting to flip it for $150 or $200. Oh, and just like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer right here, while I was looking through my collection, I found Street Fighter 2. So again, even though I was finding some pretty good deals on it, I didn't buy it because I already bought it several years ago. I'm pretty sure this one I bought from the game shop I was working at, and it was no doubt no more than 10 or 12 bucks. But remember when I talked about the whole quality of these as well too? Well, some people might have seen this story before, but I'll just highlight it because it's worth sharing. Capcom releases Street Fighter 2 on $100 cartridge that might set your Super Nintendo on fire. The Verge says here, according to I Am 8-Bit's product page, warning, use of this reproduction game cartridge, the product, on the Super Nintendo gaming hardware may cause the Super Nintendo console to overheat or catch fire. The Super Nintendo hardware is deemed a vintage collectible, so please exercise extreme caution when using the product and make sure there is fire extinguishment equipment nearby. Use of the product is at the sole risk of the user. Now, look, I understand, I guess, as a company, they're doing this as kind of a cover your ass type measure, but Hold on, I do have some Super Nintendo games here. Let's see. Do not rapidly turn the power off and on. The game pack must be cleaned regularly. Use the Super NES cleaning kit only. Same thing there. Same thing there. And, oh, Star Fox. Okay, this would... No. Out of, you know, the 4 Super Nintendo games I've looked at here in my collection, none of them have ever warned me that playing them could set my Super Nintendo on fire. So, I have no idea at this point, man. Okay. You know, this might be one of those things, if I try to just stop understanding it and stop making sense of it, I'll be at peace. But I guess, again, what it comes down to is I'm not sure who would want this. For collectors, this isn't really an official item, so I'm not sure what's going on there. This is kind of just a sanctioned reproduction. If you're even trying to get a reproduction of these games, it really wouldn't even be worth it, just due to the fact that they're so cheaply available used, and even cheaper if you find a boxed up copy of these games compared to the re-releases. Oh, and then let's not forget that you might set your console on fire playing one of these. Well, at least, you know, the I Am 8-bit version of Street Fighter 2. So I guess I'll turn it over to you all on here. These, what I'm calling legitimate reproductions, do you think that there is a point to these being released? Do you think that there's an audience? If there is, what exactly is the audience? Because I want to know. It's just... I don't know. I don't know, man. Let me know. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. And if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too. Maybe let me know if you want to see some more videos like this.